On one day every November, an entire country holds its breath. Flights are grounded for a set window of time. The stock market opens later than usual. Office start times across the country are pushed back by an hour. Hundreds of thousands of 18-year-olds are sitting the same exam at the same moment. A single day's test brings an entire nation to a stop. This scene is one of the best starting points for understanding Korean society, a society where almost everyone lines up toward a single exam and is then ranked, single file, by the result. But this one day is, in truth, simply the moment when a mechanism that runs ceaselessly all year long across every corner of Korea reveals itself most clearly. This is not a story about why Koreans compare themselves to others so much. That question is too easy. The question we want to ask is slightly different. How did one society manage to make the act of comparison this efficient? That is the real question. Comparison is universal, infrastructure is not. Let's be clear about one thing first. Comparison itself is not unique to Korea. Office workers in London, college students in New York, everyone constantly measures themselves against others. Humans are simply built that way. In 1954, the psychologist Leon Festinger gave this tendency a name: social comparison theory. When people lack an objective standard by which to evaluate themselves, they use other people as the yardstick instead. So saying Koreans love to compare actually explains nothing. The same sentence applies, almost word for word, to nearly every country on Earth. Where Korea differs is not in people's emotions, but in the structure of its society. Korea is a society engineered so that almost everything can be measured and lined up in a single ranking. Homes carry universally recognized brand names and price tags. A child's worth gets converted into a single percentile through one exam. A person's everyday life becomes a feed broadcast publicly, 24 hours a day. This is a product of the path Korea has walked. As the country compressed an entire developmental arc, from agrarian nation to advanced economy, into a single generation, opportunity and resources were pulled rapidly toward one center: Seoul. The number of spots near the top stayed limited, while the line forming toward those spots grew steeper. The further apart the top and bottom drift, the more comparison stops being a simple habit and starts becoming a calculation of survival. In other words, Korea did not invent comparison. It may simply be the country that built the most efficient comparison apparatus in the world. And this apparatus runs on 3 engines: real estate, the private education market, and social media. Let's look at each one in turn. Engine 1, real estate. In most countries, a home is a place to live. In Korea, a home functions more like a coordinate, a marker that tells you exactly where you stand in the social order. Korean apartments carry brand names everyone instantly recognizes. Even within the same city, which brand of apartment you live in reads almost like a rank, and the price of each complex is practically public knowledge. As a result, the question of where you live translates immediately into the question of how much you are worth. Home stops being a private space and becomes a publicly displayed score. The numbers bear this out. As of Q3 2025, Seoul's price-to-income ratio for housing stands at approximately 10.6. That means the average buyer, earning roughly $57,000 a year, is purchasing a home worth roughly $613,000. You would need to save every cent of your income without spending a single dollar for over 10 years just to afford an ordinary Seoul apartment. And even this average is losing its meaning. Home prices along the so-called Han River Belt, Gangnam, Socho, Songpa, Yongsan, Mapo, have become almost entirely disconnected from ordinary incomes. The city's core districts have hardened into a league that only a small class of wealth holders can enter. Even the outer districts, once a stepping stone into the middle class, now require years of relentless saving for an average household just to reach. In Korea, owning your own home is treated as more than a housing matter. It functions almost like proof that a person has achieved their fair share of life. So when home prices climb faster than incomes, what people feel goes beyond mere inconvenience. It is a sense of deprivation. The feeling that no matter how diligently you work, the finish line keeps running away from you faster than you can run toward it. One more point worth noting here. One of the biggest factors determining a home's value in Korea is its school district. Neighborhoods with good schools command far higher prices than those without. In other words, the real estate engine is tightly interlocked with the second engine we're about to examine: education. Buying a good home and buying a good education effectively become the same transaction. Engine 2, the private education market. Korea has a single gateway, known as the Suneung, the College Scholastic Ability Test. Nearly every child sits the same exam on the same day and is then ranked, single file, by the outcome. One gateway produces one ranking, and wherever there is a ranking, a market follows, without exception. In 2024 alone, Korean elementary, middle, and high school students spent approximately $19.3 billion on private education outside of school. That figure broke its own all-time record for the 4th consecutive year. What's even more striking is that the number of students in Korea actually fell during this same period. Fewer children, and yet more money being poured into each one. Participation in private tutoring has reached 80%. That means 8 out of every 10 children head to another classroom after school lets out. This market has another defining feature. It has no finish line. If one child learns one semester ahead, the child next to them pushes a full grade ahead, and then another child finishes 2 grades early. Because everyone is trying to get ahead at the same time, in the end, no one is actually ahead. The starting line just keeps getting pulled toward a younger and younger age. English immersion preschools and elementary schoolers already solving high school math, these are the products of a race with no defined finish line. And it is precisely here that the coldest part of how this apparatus operates comes into view. The highest earning households spend roughly $450 a month on private education per child. The lowest earning households spend roughly $135. The gap between the two groups is 3.3 times. But the real story isn't the size of that gap. It's the speed at which it's changing. Over the past year, spending by high-income households rose by less than 1%. Spending by low-income households rose by more than 12%. The people with the least are opening their wallets the fastest, because they have no room left to fall further behind. This is not culture. This is fear. And tragically, it is a thoroughly rational fear. The steeper the line gets, the more desperate the struggle becomes to climb even one rung higher. Engine 3, social media. The first two engines share one limitation. They are slow. Most people buy a home only a handful of times in their life. A child sits the Suneung exactly once. These engines turn over only occasionally. The third engine is different. Social media runs in real time, without ever pausing, not even for a moment. Korea is one of the most densely connected countries in the world, and across that hyper-connected network, comparison becomes constant, a permanent condition rather than an occasional event. People no longer measure themselves only against their neighbors. Now, they spend their entire day measuring themselves against the single brightest moment of every person on Earth. What's more, the life displayed on that feed is not real life. It is a curated highlight reel, polished down to its best moments. People hold up their entire ordinary day next to the single brightest frame someone else carefully chose to post. It is, from the very start, a comparison that could never be fair. And here, the apparatus finally completes itself. Think for a moment about what actually appears on a social media feed. a newly purchased home, a child's award certificate, news of an acceptance, luxury goods, vacations. In other words, people take the scores generated by the first two engines and put them on display, mounted on top of the third. If real estate measures space and education measures time, then social media gathers every score those two engines have produced onto a single screen, continuously, and always in its most flattering form. The three scenes we scroll past without a second thought, a new apartment, a report card, a vacation photo, are not actually three separate things. They are three outputs generated by one and the same apparatus. So what does it feel like to live inside this apparatus? It feels like falling slightly behind, constantly, in tiny increments. A race with no visible finish line. A track where, even after winning once, the next comparison is already waiting. And this is where the apparatus's heaviest consequence reveals itself. In 2025, Korea's total fertility rate registered at 0.80. While that marks a small rebound for the second consecutive year, it remains the lowest among all 38 OECD member states, sitting barely above half the OECD average. Low birth rates are often explained away as the selfishness or shifting values of the younger generation. But viewed through the lens of this comparison apparatus, it looks far more like the output of an entirely rational calculation. If raising a single child to be competitive demands this much cost and this much risk, if a home converted into a price tag and an education converted into a percentile are what's waiting for that child, then choosing not to have a child is not abnormal in the least. It is, in fact, exactly the output you would expect from faithfully following this apparatus's logic to its conclusion. An apparatus that runs on comparison as its fuel has, in the end, begun burning the next generation itself as fuel. There is no tidy ending. A typical video would offer some warm reassurance around this point. Stop comparing yourself to others. Focus on yourself, not on other people. Turn off the screen for a while. Log out. But there is one decisive problem with that advice. The comparison is in part correct. When the distance between the top and the bottom truly is this vast, telling people to simply stop comparing comes close to quietly swapping a structural problem for a problem of mindset. No amount of mental discipline turns a steep staircase standing right in front of you into flat ground. So this story does not have a tidy ending. The comparison apparatus does not originate from any individual's personal weakness. It originates from a society itself, designed so that everything can be measured and lined up in a single row. And changing that design is, by an incomparable margin, harder than turning off a screen with one thumb. Tonight, millions of screens will go dark, one by one. Some among them may decide, for a moment, to stop comparing and put the screen down. But by tomorrow morning, the screens will light up again, and the line will still be standing exactly where it was. The apparatus has never once stopped.